I wasn't planning on doing a video today, particularly after doing one yesterday, but after everything that went on today, I felt in my heart I had to give my feelings, give my takes on this. This everything's been happening kind of struck me deep, and I found myself in a very deep state of despair and anxiety over recent events, and it really culminated today with feelings of rage and sadness and just general depression. Thinking about where we've come as a society and as a country, and that's not to say we were ever perfect, far from it. And those are fights we must continue to have. But I don't know. We're going backwards, and it's now coming out in the open too. And I found myself just staring outside in the rain, just thinking, how much longer is this going to go? How much longer until, till everything we see around us comes crashing down? And that's where we're at, I think. I just don't know. So I should say what what I'm talking about in particular is today, Dr. Ford, who accused Brett Kavanaugh of attempting to rape her, essentially, but sexual assault years ago when they were in high school. They had their hearing, and she gave her side, he gave his side. Each had a shot to talk to the Senate. Not really a fair hearing, I would call it. I think much more widespread investigation. I started today thinking that, as the Democrats thought this should be an FBI investigation. Seemed sensible, seemed true to protocol. I come now and I think, and I don't know if it's really possible, but if there was a way, I'd even call for a criminal investigation. But that's not really what this video is about. This video is meant to go deeper. I sat there listening to the testimony. First, I heard bits and pieces, and I'm still catching up because it was been getting slammed at work, and whenever I could, I turned it on. So I heard a significant portion, but not all of it. But Dr. Ford's testimony was just heartbreaking, and I think it's something that we have to look at as a soul. We have to look into the soul of our nation. We have to look into the soul of our humanity. And this is not a person from even I think this is not a person from a non-privileged background. This is somebody who had a well-to-do upbringing, and even for this person, she was treated like shit. And I fear to think, I saw a tweet about this, what if this was someone from an even less privileged background? Not only just being a woman, what if it was a woman of color? What if it was someone from a poorer background, and so on and so forth? This could be, they wouldn't even gotten a hearing. So it just was very upsetting to watch that. And it really, the Me Too movement has been, I think, a revelation for us. There's been a lot of stuff under the covers, and as indicative by most of the Trump administration in many areas, there are a lot of sicknesses, a lot of really bad shit that's been under covers, that's been, you might have a Band-Aid over it, that's been ripped off. It's out here in the open, and we're forced to face that. And I can't help to think myself that, look, I get it. When you're in college, you drink. Even when you're in high school, I didn't really drink in high school, but I drank a lot in college, and I've come to realize that I've through that time, I had a problem really with drinking. I was not very responsible. And in that time, and I'm sure, and I've been blackout and I've been told afterwards I did stupid, stupid things. And obviously, you're going to do things you regret. But that does not justify attempted rape. I mean, it's one thing to do stupid stuff, say stupid shit, and be inappropriate. It's a whole nother issue to go to the range of sexual assault. But I mean, it's really got me to a point where I've been thinking a lot about. I think all men have to reevaluate what they've been doing and whether what they've been doing is right. And I think that's important. But when you're talking about these kind of accusations of, again, he tried to rape her. I mean, it's clear-cut sexual assault. That merits an investigation. We have to, not this dog and pony show that we saw today, where you saw a woman brought, and these Republican senators were so gutless that they couldn't even ask them their questions themselves. They had to bring in a woman lawyer because they knew what it looked like when they attacked her credibility. And it just was just a really painful and upsetting thing to see that this is where we've come to in this country, that we're now going to put them on the stand in open public and try to embarrass them, and then bring their accuser on and try to coddle him, which is what Senate Republicans tried to do. I heard some of them, and this is really the main point of my discussion. I'm probably going to have to touch on some other points at a later time. But when you see how they, treated, how they seem to just have to have an intermediary to speak to the victim in this case, who's been going through hell, who didn't even want to have this in open, which you got to think about. This is why victims of sexual assault don't want to come out in the open, because they're afraid, and justifiably so, particularly when it's a person of power. And we have to do better in that. Obviously, it's a bipartisan issue. From far left to far right, you're going to find sexual abusers. But we have to understand that these Senate Republicans now, the GOP now supports sexual abuse. That's what it is. Because when you saw what they did in the second part, where suddenly they've cast their female mediator aside, and then they directly talked to Kavanaugh, and they said some of the most disgusting, outrageous things that have ever been said on the floor of the Senate. And we got to be honest, that's saying something, because some pretty fucked up shit's been said on that floor. We'd be better off, honestly, putting a wrecking ball through the Senate. It shouldn't exist. It's a bullshit institution, but that's another discussion for another day. Well, what did we see there? I'm sorry, I'm so angry. I'm so, in a despair state. I can't even fully get the words out. What we saw was, first of all, Brett Kavanaugh act exactly as you'd expect him to. I know people are shocked. I know even I was shocked. But when you're thinking about this snobby little privileged rich boy, maybe he did work hard. I'm not here to doubt that he did or didn't work hard. But he had everything handed to him on a silver platter by mommy and daddy. He had everything given to him. So I'm not shocked that he's acting like a petulant child. And that's probably why Trump likes him. Because he goes up there and starts acting like a 5-year-old baby. And, just, I have no problem with crying. I have no problem with men crying. Everyone cries. Every 2 seconds, he's alternating between crying and yelling and freaking out at people. All right? It was some of the most privileged shit you'll ever see. And he's acting like my life is ruined. What the fuck are you talking about? Your motherfucking life isn't ruined. You're still probably going to be confirmed. You're still a judge on the D.C. Circuit Court. You still are living comfortably in your big-ass house. Don't talk about my life is ruined. Your life is not ruined, okay? And then you have people like Lindsey Graham and John Cornyn and people like this having the gall to talk about this is the most outrageous thing since McCarthy. This is the biggest in America. Orrin Hatch. Orrin Hatch is an absolutely disgusting motherfucking human being. All right? And I don't wish death on people, and I'm not, other than few exceptions, I don't like to wish death on people. But, and I'm not going to in this case, but Orrin Hatch is the type of guy who walks up and says, who will burn your house down, and then if you throw a stone back to oppose him, he will go up on a stage and say, oh my God, you threw a stone at me. How uncivil are you? Ignoring the fact that you burned his motherfucking house down. That's the type of people you're dealing with, all right? So when you have Lindsey Graham getting all uptight and saying this is the biggest embarrassment he's seen in his life, and this kind of horseshit, this is hell. You're going through hell. That's what he said to Kavanaugh. This is hell for you. This must be hell. He keeps saying that. These people don't know what hell is. I don't even know if I have a full grasp of what hell is. Because I was lucky enough to grow up in the suburbs and have a good education provided to me. And have some opportunity. Now, Lord knows we had problems family-wise. Lord knows we were not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. But I had something. I had a support structure. I still have a support structure. So you want to sit here and talk about, but these people, look, they may have started some of them may have started as a working class background. They may have worked hard, and fine, credit to you for that. But when you talk about Lindsey Graham, here's a guy who loves every war that comes to his feet, who's begging for us to nuke North Korea, who's begging for us to get into a war with Iran, who turns a blind eye to all the different violence that's happening around the world for the policies that he advocates. And then he wants to talk about hell. No, the people who are living hell are those people who your policies end up with bombs dropping on their front porch. They got hell literally dropped on their heads. And you're going to talk about hell for this rich little privileged white boy? Give me a fucking break. You don't know what hell is. I'm going to talk about hell. I tweeted about this a little earlier. Hell is people who can't get clean water. Hell is people who can't afford to eat, or they got to choose between their food and their medicine. Hell is not, oh, I took a little bit of shit because there's a chance I might have tried to rape a girl 30 years ago. No, that's not hell. That's scrutiny. That's needed because you're about to become the fifth vote to overturn numerous landmark policies such as Roe v. Wade and the like. And you want to talk about hell? Fuck you. That's what I say. Fuck you. It's fucking bullshit, man. I'm talking about. This is the detachment we have in this country, in this society, where you have people trying to talk down. There's people who are working 2, 3, 4 jobs who are struggling to make ends meet. All right? I want to talk about hell. Give me a break. You know, hell was the Native Americans who lived here, the life you made for them when you came in and took over their lands. All right? Hell was the slaves. Hell is the people you blacklisted, that McCarthy blacklisted, and actually got blacklisted. Not some phony blacklist you're trying to say about Brett Kavanaugh. And then let's even go to a more recent case. Let's even put hell aside for a second and just talk about this is an embarrassing process for a justice. What did you do to Merrick Garland, man? You didn't even give him a fucking vote or a meeting or anything. And you want to talk about Brett Kavanaugh's been treated so badly? No, there needs to be full investigation of every single accusation that comes, and we got to find out the truth. All right, and if at the end they find out it's not credible, then fine. All right. But everything I saw today told me it's credible. All right, so we need to put this shit on hold. All right, but they're not going to do it because this is the mentality of the GOP. Honestly, the GOP could probably just dump this guy and get another right-winger to be the fifth vote on Roe v. Wade. And they would still get it through because there's enough carpetbagging Democrats, and there's enough pretend moderate Republicans who will talk, and then vote in the affirmative. You get them through, but they're not going to do that because these Republicans, they have to win. They have a fucking privilege mindset that they cannot give a fucking inch. That's what they are. So, and oftentimes Democrats allow. Now, to their credit, Democrats actually put a really good fight today, and I like that. And that's part of the reason you had Lindsey Graham freak the shit out. I mean, I've heard people say, "Oh, they must have something on him because he switched, like from, being critical of Trump to suddenly, just lockstep being behind him." But I don't think that's the case, honestly. I think just he saw most of his party became just very, very pro-Trump, and he's a despicable politician, and his really sole journey in life is to bomb as many people as possible. The darker the skin, the better for a person like Lindsey Graham, and that's what he was going to do, and he's going to do whatever it takes. And it's just disgusting at every level. We have a total detachment. I'm going to try to not rant too much longer, but fucking A, man. Talk about hell. I'll show you a few places in Baltimore where there's hell. That's a different world than I live in by far. And I'm far from, being rich. But you're talking about abject poverty within the borders of support of the richest nation in the world, in the history of the world. You're talking about abject poverty. We can't get proper pipes, man. And you want to sit here and protect a potential sexual abuser and embarrass and attack their victim? Which I hope, let me rephrase it. I hope that, and I've seen some empirical evidence that this has led a lot of people to come out in the open, and I hope that continues. But you're trying to shove them back in the closet. That's what you're doing. Because this is the essence of conservatism. Keeping the status quo and moving backwards. That's what conservatives. If you support the Republican Party, if you support conservatives, you support backwards. You support going backwards. You support you support going backwards. You support keeping a status quo that is meant to harm those people at the bottom and just help the people at the top. Help the powerful, harm and crush the weak. That's what you motherfuckers do. And you can keep doing it, but I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to fight like hard. And I feel very powerless, honestly, because unfortunately, under the pressure of capitalism, you work, and don't have a lot of time. But I swear on this, with every waking fucking hour that I do have, that I can keep working, I'm going to work to beat you guys. And honestly, doesn't matter. Me, I'm one guy. What the fuck does it matter? Because if they keep doing this and they keep making it worse, it'll crash down on their heads anyways. Because that's what we see through history. When you expand your empire, when you let the powerful become too powerful and there's a whole bunch of people suffering below, eventually you hit a breaking point and eventually there's violent revolution and collapse. And while the U.S. Constitution, the Declaration of Independence are two of the greatest documents ever in human history, two of the most revolutionary, and the ideas were brilliant in an idealistic extent. So, of course, in practice, far from it. I have no illusions of that. But when you talk about these, you build a relatively stable government. If you keep pushing it, though, it's going to go down anyways. Now, honestly, I've always said I don't support violence. I don't want violence. I want to do things politically, peacefully. Honestly, if you see me in real life, I wouldn't last more than about 5 seconds in a violent revolution. Not really cut out for it. But this has to stop. And this just, if people want to be this detached, if these people want to be this fundamentalist, then we gotta, move ahead. And I hope to God the Democrats realize if they win in 2018, if they can take the White House in 2020, and this guy's on the court, you got to impeach him first step, all right, and reorder the investigation. You got to add seats to the Supreme Court, all right. Stop fucking around. You played nice with these guys, and you paid a price. All right, add seats to the Supreme Court, pack that motherfucking court. It's not unconstitutional. It can be done. All right, you got to look at then adding Puerto Rico, who we fucked over repeatedly as a state, and DC, who we continue to fuck over as a state. All right, you got to break out all the stops. All right, because this is killing us, and it's not like historically we're saints. I mean, when you consider all the horrific shit we've done to the powerless, but we just keep getting worse and worse and worse, and that's got to stop. And meanwhile, while all this is happening, we got people freaking out about some activists giving Ted Cruz and his family a hard time at a restaurant. I say give them a hard time. No, not saying violence. Peacefully, no physical violence, but you give them a motherfucking hard time. Let these motherfuckers know. I don't think Lindsey Graham should go into another restaurant without 30 people being behind him telling him what a piece of shit he is. All right? Talking about hell. You want to talk about hell from your fucking ivory tower, then you can, you can do that. But you're just, I don't know. I got to stop myself at some point. Hell. This has been raining like nonstop. It's fucking gonna flood out there. How many people are outside soaking in the rain because they can't afford to be safely in a home? They can't afford to eat. Even the people who work, some of them at this point they can't afford to. A lot of them can't afford to have a living wage. Don't have a living wage, and they can't afford to live. Don't talk about hell. Brett Kavanaugh will be fine. And talk about ruining lives. This is the type of shit is wrong with our country right now. Fucking detached motherfuckers like these. And beyond that, then so all these problems happen, we want to whine about this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, if God forbid we ask for health care for everybody, no, how are you going to pay for it? But if we got to start one of Lindsey Graham's wars or defense authorization acts or whatever else there is, I got to pass it right through. If you oppose it, you're not a patriot. No, Lindsey Graham is not a patriot. Lindsey Graham is a piece of shit that's run by the military-industrial complex, among other aspects. All right? You know, the patriotic thing to do is to help those below you, to help your worst off, live. Otherwise, you don't have any morality in this country. We don't. And we are not good people. Lindsey Graham is evil. Orrin Hatch is evil. Chuck Grassley is evil. I'm sorry to say that because I have people close to me that are Republicans, and I've had very good debates, and we have good discussions, and people who are moderate Democrats and the like, and I'm fine with that. I like having discussion. Let's have honest discussion and debate. But this is not reasonable, all right? The modern Republican Party is not reasonable, all right? They've completely jumped the shark, and they were never that great to begin with, but that's fine. I have family members that are Republicans, but even they are disgusted by this kind of stuff, all right? The behavior of the modern party. And that's all I got. And I know a lot of this is symptomatic of what's been happening for a long time, and I'll discuss that another day, but that's all I got. I mean, fuck you. Fuck you. That's all I got for all these Senate Republicans and the like. All right. Have a good night.